I'm here to chat on episode number 64 with Mr. David Lee from Alien Worlds. What's going on, my man? How are you today?
How's it going, Ben? Wow, a lot of pressure. 63 fine folks came before us. Hopefully we can hold the standard here.
There's a pretty magical number, 64 is. It is a square of 2. Very important in the world of programming and coding. So I think we have a lot of good things working for us here on
Yeah,
the
definitely.
podcast.
Definitely. Going binary today.
Exactly. So let's kick it off. Would love to really understand more about you, how you got to this place in the world of crypto. Maybe give us a little bit of background. Then definitely want to tackle and jump into the world of Alien Worlds.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Happy to attempt to answer all of your questions here. Fire away.
Yeah. Well, first, would love to get some background on you. Would love to really hear your story of how you got to this place.
Well, personally, I have a background. Let's see, I went to school for communications, kind of did a lot of different things in life. Basically been in management throughout most of my life, working with different companies. Yeah, and kind of found Alien Worlds very early on as a community member. I've been involved in crypto, I guess, for about 5-6 years now. And really started to just kind of get fascinated with NFTs, and not that the art like NFTs aren't really cool, but the utility NFTs are really what piqued my interest. And then when Alien Worlds, of course, like when Michael Yates, Rob Allen, and Cero kind of put this white paper out there that incorporates DAOs alongside of NFT utility, it just really kind of sold me. And then yeah, been here ever since, and happy to be on board.
So I want to talk about this idea of DAOs and NFTs and how they work together for sure. But I want to make sure we kind of close the loop on your history. So you got into crypto about 5 or 6 years ago, which would put that around 2017, 16, 17?
2017-ish, yeah, right in there.
Okay. And what was how did it get on your radar, and how did you first interact with crypto? Like what was
Sure.
that story?
Yeah, sure. Happy to share that. Let's see. So I guess I'd kind of had a few friends tell me about it before I actually kind of dove in and started trying to acquire and kind of learn how to hold Bitcoin and about wallets and things like that. Yeah, so I had friends just kind of telling me about this for a number of years. So it's saying it's something I should do. There's some meetups here locally, so I started kind of going to those and kind of just learning about like the utility of various cryptocurrencies and kind of why these things were kind of like an emerging market, I guess, worldwide, and then, yeah, so after doing that for a number of weeks and meeting some people here locally where I live in the US, yeah, kind of just decided to dive on in and started investing in some cryptocurrencies, and kind of just been holding some ever since.
So you get interested, you're going to meetups, you learn about it. That's still pretty early though in the world of crypto. Have you always been like an early adopter of things, or was this just something where you're like, wow, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. I'm in it. I gotta, get my piece of the pie.
Yeah, I would say I'm not typically an early adopter. I'm usually probably slow to do things, if anything. This just happened to be something I think that, just the right people that I know kind of influenced me in the right direction, and really just made me aware of this. And after really studying and putting the time into this space in general, you can kind of see that really it's you kind of have your finger on the pulse of what's happening in the world right now. It's really nice to be kind of on that bleeding edge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, at least for me, it was such an obvious path to get into the crypto gaming side, because I've been a gamer since I was 6 years old, and I'm 27 now, and it's just such an incredible just this an incredible meeting of worlds where crypto, blockchain, NFT, gaming, the metaverse, like it all comes together in one. I mean, sometimes it's almost too exciting to even handle and think about, but let's try. How did you then drift coming from, in 2017? How did you then drift into the gaming space? What really drew you to that?
Well, I mean, like you said, I've been a gamer as well, my whole life. I really loved like the early Warcraft games, like the Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, and the open map and the strategy of all of those games. So yeah, so as a young David Lee, I used to play those games, and the older that I got, I kind of more just played maybe sports games and things like that. But yeah, always been a gamer. Really enjoyed just that competition and the aspect of that. But really, what got me involved in the side of, I guess, crypto gaming is the NFTs and just seeing the utility there with the NFTs. Like there's so many times, and I guess like with traditional gaming platforms, really cool stuff that they're doing out there. But when you invest kind of in these games and you invest time and money in these games, time and money just kind of remains with those games, which ultimately you get the experience out of it. It's a nice trade-off. But here, if you're tired of playing something, well, you can take your assets and trade them in for another game or kind of whatever you want to do with it. So just that freedom is what's, I guess, really attracted me.
It's so fascinating, dude. I think about this all the time of like, what's the actual draw? Like if you think about it at the end of the day, like what is the promise that we're all hanging on to, that we're spending all this time and energy learning about, building our careers in, investing in? Like we're contributing a significant piece of our life into this. And I think when we boil it down, at least in my mind, what it is at the end of the day is freedom. I think that's what we're really going for. Like in my mind, the true promise is at the end of the day, we need to have a metaverse, which is just everything that's not physical. Like everything digital is the metaverse. So let's just get that out of the way right now. But in that world, there are things that we can do and freedoms that we have that are just not possible anywhere else. Like you can think about, I want to ride on a dragon and shoot fireballs at my friends and win a prize. And then that can just happen in this sort of world that we're talking about. Is that kind of the promise that you saw, that at the core of it was really what drew you in? I know you kind of mentioned like being able to move from game to game. You put in money into a game, you can then take it and move it out, and that's freedom. But like deep down, like what is that also kind of what you're in it for? Is like this ultimate sense of freedom?
Well, I guess like you said though, once you get done with the dragon, you can trade it to somebody for something, right? If you want your dad flying around on that dragon. But yeah, the freedom, and also really, it's so cool to kind of to meet so many different people in this space. The Discords are vibrant in this space, and the Telegram channels, and the people here are really interested in just these products and creating technologies that kind of are outside the box thinking, and like you said, maybe allow people a little bit more free choice ultimately. And I think that's kind of the ultimate goal of all of this. Yeah.
I love it. So let's move now into this idea of DAOs and NFTs, because I am extremely bullish on both of those separately, and then together. I mean, it just makes me want to jump up and down and just shout to the heavens. But I'd love to understand your viewpoint of like, what's the real opportunity with DAOs and NFTs? How do they come together? And maybe that's a nice segue into Alien Worlds to understand like an example of how this is actually playing out, something you have a lot of experience with.
Well, I think as far as them physically coming together for specific functionality, there's a lot of questions that remain to be answered along the way, as each day we're kind of blazing a new trail in this space, and then we're all moving fast and breaking things and hoping to put together products that scale long term. So with that in mind, though, ultimately, the game Alien Worlds in general is a free to play game. Players are rewarded with or are given two NFTs to start, a standard shovel and an avatar. We also give every player, if you already have a Wax wallet set up, 25 free transactions per day. So our ultimate goal is to make the game truly free to play and to truly empower people out here in this space. And so the way all of that will kind of interact, players can take their shovel. I guess I'm kind of getting ahead here, so I want to slow down and make sure I tell the whole story. So players can then take these free NFTs. They can mine some Trilium. They can use this Trilium to stake and later vote for planetary counselors. They can use this Trilium to stake and go on Planet Binance missions, and in return get mission-specific NFTs and more Trilium. So as of now, that's kind of the utility of the NFTs in the game as far as the mining operations goes. There's future functionality planned like the Thunderdome and other things as well, where you'll be able to use other NFTs to earn more Trilium and battle for planetary dominance, those sorts of things. But how all of this ties together is the Trilium you mine. throughout the game, you can stake to a specific planet. And if you do that, you'll be rewarded with governance tokens at a 1-to-1 ratio. And these tokens will in turn be, you can use them to vote for planetary counselors. And that's where the DAOs come into effect. So your vote will count towards whichever candidate you want to see, whichever one you see fit, on the board of a specific planet. So that's kind of how it all connects together, I guess, if you will.
So the NFTs give you the ability to generate a currency which can then be staked for governance rights to make decisions on who then makes more decisions on a specific planet. So are the planets NFTs and then the DAOs control what happens on the planets?
The planets are DAOs themselves with contracts built in. All of that's kind of built in already. Governance functionality has not been released yet, but yeah, so that's the idea. So every day though, these planets are accumulating more Trillium in their treasuries, and we're talking about a vast amount of Trillium that's sits at each one of these planets' disposal at the moment. And so once governance does launch, the counselors will have the ability to decide what happens with this Trillium. And there's all kinds of ideas being kicked around the community, to use it for, let's reward miners a little bit more. Let's reward stakers a little bit more. Let's create our own game using Alien Worlds NFTs, and let's fund that out of this treasury. Forbid there's a disaster somewhere around the world, but I've even seen people mention things like, hey, let's send some money to the Red Cross. Let's do things like that. So you could take it any route you want to go. The possibilities are endless. So I think that's part of really what makes it cool, is that it's a game, but if you really want to, you can change the world by playing this game ultimately.
So if I'm somebody who maybe they're totally in on this idea, they love the idea of being a part of a DAO that can absolutely have just a really cool idea behind it like this. And there are resources in the treasury that can be allocated somewhere. My mind immediately jumps to, okay, well, how does that actually, what's the structure of that from, and I'm thinking even like not even structure of like, how do we go about voting, but like, what are the legal ramifications of that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're a steward
Absolutely.
of capital there. Is each DAO its own legal entity, or does it all fall under the Alien Worlds umbrella? Like, how does that even work?
I think that's a good question. And I really think that, as you've probably seen as well around the world, like DAOs are becoming, more and more mentioned by the day. The DAOs are forming around various things in real communities around the world, and they're starting to have like legal status and things like that. So I think some of these questions are still to be answered. I do know that we have an amazing legal team at our disposal and on our team that are trying to help us answer these very questions that you pose. And I think that's kind of some of the reason why that some of this functionality doesn't move along as fast as some of the players might like to see as well, because you have to really consider a lot of factors when making all of these decisions. And we're trying to do that, but move as fast as we can as well, forward.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I like the answer that it's an important question and we may not have all the answers quite yet, but we're working on it. I think that's a good answer. Yeah, because I think that's going to be one of the things we see moving forward. I mean, I'm so unbelievably bullish on DAOs, and I mean, just this whole space. Each thing you could build a career through. Like, you could focus specifically on DAOs, and then you could even niche down into DAOs within games, and you could build a career right there. And still, you would have so many things that are happening that you probably need 20 lifetimes to even get close to tackling all of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with these ideas though of like, okay, there are things that we don't fully have answers to yet. Like, what do you think actually happens when there are answers? Is it like, oh shit, now we have to actually like put together a bunch of money and retroactively go build a lot of this legal infrastructure that we don't have yet? Or is it like the people who did the things they wanted to do, got in, accomplished things, did whatever, like now they just move on and then nothing happens to them. Like what do you think are, whenever things do kick in, like what happens to those who've already been executing and working and doing things?
You mean as in far as like legal legislation, or what? As far
Yeah,
as just
like
when the DAOs are active in the game?
yeah, like when the DAOs go fully live and then people want to work on them, they want to do things, they want to allocate, and maybe there's not quite yet legal clarity,
Mm.
but people still want to do it, and then they do things, and then there is legal
Right.
clarity. Like what happens at that point?
Yeah, that is a great question, and I think and I think we're hoping for some clarity soon on that ourselves as well. Um, there's smarter minds than myself working on those very questions, and I wouldn't want to speak out of turn to say anybody. I don't think anybody's going to be any trouble legally per se, but I do think that it's important that we advance in the right way with your concerns. Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how this idea of wanting to build in this way came about. Like maybe we could talk a little bit more on the origin story of Alien Worlds, and like how was this idea the idea that y'all settled on and went for?
Well, so our founders, Sarah McKenna, Rob Allen, and Michael Yates, kind of have a history of building DACs, if you will, and they're just extremely interested in decentralized products and kind of empowering people to do things on their own and as collectives. And so that kind of led them to, I believe, an idea that was like a wax stack fact, like a wax stack factory kind of ideal. And then that expanded and grew into, well, let's just create a full-fledged game on Wax. And the awesome mind of Rob Allen got to work, and next thing you know, one thing led to another, and here we are at Alien Worlds today.
Right on. So like it was more of a couple of big brains get together and just started building stuff, and then this is how it turned out. Or was like how did, in the idea of the collective and working with community, like how did the actual idea of this style of gameplay happen? Like, I mean, this is a pretty advanced type of game. And oh, and if you have something to screen share to actually show us some stuff, that would be cool too.
Let's see. I do not at the moment. I do apologize for that. Was not prepared for that today. I'm sorry.
No
But yeah,
worries.
visit alienworlds.io to get started today. If you have a Wax wallet, you can get started for free.
Cool.
Yeah. So what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm
So
just kind of
so the thoughts behind it. Yeah. Okay. So initially they were more interested in building out just DACs and DAOs and like helping people succeed. And so once they got over to Wax though and seen that you could build these games and these kind of really cool and slick products kind of on top of Wax, it gave them the idea to build the game. And so, of course, and I'm pretty sure Sarah's the heart of the DAO here. She's the one who wanted us to implement the DAO and everything. And so that's kind of what they ran with. Let's build this game on top of these DAOs, right? Let's build these 6 planets. Let's put them in competition with one another, and let's let the community decide what happens ultimately. And just been an awesome experiment so far for sure. And yeah.
And where is that experience heading towards? Like, what is the vision of the long term of Alien Worlds and what it turns into?
Oh, that's a great question. I apologize. I got a train coming back.
It's
That's
all
what you hear
good.
in the background.
This is the
Yeah,
fun of
so
doing things live.
that's right. So ultimately, the vision is to kind of turn this over to the players, right, and let them build their own products on top of this. And we're like, I guess if you break it down, look at like a pie. Like the company itself, the Coco, isn't really interested in that much of the pie. It's like ultimately about empowering players, turn this over to them, letting them build their own games on top of all of this, make their own decisions, vote their own counselors, and we're just kind of here to be that guiding hand and kind of step in as needed. Now at this moment, if you're on the ground and been playing every single day, I'm sure it looks like we're a long ways away from that. But each day we're getting a little closer.
Yeah, that's awesome. And was that was the idea from the beginning of let's build something cool, unleash it into the world, and then see what happens and let the people take it from there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Cool.
decentralized. Yeah.
That's interesting. So the company behind the game, Dacoco, so that's kind of like a DAO builder, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to categorize it.
And how does that actually work? Like what's the I mean, is it software to help build DAOs?
Yeah,
Is
it's
it
definitely a lot of software. Yeah, for sure. It's scalable products, absolutely.
cool? And so is the idea that this was more of like the game was a project to prove out what's possible with this sort of technology,
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Absolutely.
and then it just kind of took on a life of its own and is now, you know, one of the
It's
top played games on Wax.
and it grew so fast, absolutely, yeah. And so, with that, of course, has come a lot of challenges. Just the overnight success and the, trying to show up every day, chip away, get as much done as you can, which might not seem like a lot in the big picture, considering how fast everything is scaling. But continuing to show up consistently and get the tasks done each day.
Right on. So can you talk a little bit about how that actually blew up? Because I'm looking at, and I love this website, but I'm checking out DApp Radar, and if you go on DApp Radar and you check out the top wax DApps as of right now, in the past 30 days, it's you guys. I mean, Alien Worlds is number one on that list. So that is that's incredible. And it looks like you guys have over 200. I mean, in the last the last 30 days or so, like hundreds of thousands of players or users, according to that. Maybe give us an idea of like how accurate that really is, like how many players, how many users, how many people are actually on the platform, and how did it grow to that size?
Yeah, it's great questions. I would say part of the growth is organic. Part of it is, that it's just an awesome product that's generally free to play. Of course, we all know there's a 5 wax creation fee for new players to create a wax wallet, and we're actually looking into ways to assist with that as well in the future. Nothing to announce on that today, but we're attempting to keep this as free to play as possible. And I think that's kind of what separates us from some of the games out there. A lot of them are really cool, but you can truly step in and play here for free to start. And that is word of mouth and the promise and the prospect of the DAOs really are interesting to a lot of people. I think that there's just so much to do really as well, because there's been coalitions of landowners formed. There's been communities formed around alien worlds, and some of these kind of represent certain planets. So everyone kind of has their own thing going on. There's constantly mining events and competitions going on. And so really, I just think there's a little something to do for everyone in the metaverse when you play alien worlds.
And how many players are there?
I don't check that radar daily, but I believe we're averaging well over 200,000 daily players. And
Oh,
oh
200,000 daily. Oh my
yeah,
god.
it's quite a few. And and this comes with challenges as well. We're aware that there are some automated players in there, and we've ramped up those detection systems over the last few months to where we're trying to weed those out. Even if it's a detriment to our numbers, we're more concerned with our real players and trying to empower them to thrive as much as possible. So sometimes you'll see those numbers dip a bit, and that's usually because we're ramping up bot detection measures at that moment.
Dude, even okay, let's say for a second though that you have like, okay, let's say there are maybe 10,000 bots, 30,000 bots, whatever. How many other games even have that many freaking bots that are interested in trying to go in and be a part of that? That's incredible.
Oh, it is. It's a
Congratulations on
very
that.
awesome. Oh, thanks. But yeah, it goes to the whole team. I mean, there's a whole team here around this project that's done it all together. Huge teamwork. So yeah, the kudos goes to them for the most part. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's incredible. And then, just checking out some other metrics on a monthly basis, there are millions of people that go to the website, the Alien Worlds website. That's incredible.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
okay, so let's talk about it. So clearly you're on like the social side, the community side. And how long have you been with Alien Worlds yourself?
Let's see, about 11 months now.
Okay, when you hopped on, had the great like the exponential rise happened? And did it happen exponentially, or was it more incremental over time on user count?
There were exponential points, like after the Binance announcement, there was just this point of just this massive influx of players, just really interested because they have that huge PR machine behind them over there that really helped to kind of get the word out about Alien Worlds. And yeah, so that was exponential. And kind of since then, it's kind of been just steady. It's a nice steady growth curve, and new players are hopping in the chats every day to ask questions about how to play and where the best place is to mine, those sorts of questions.
And that was around the Binance thing happened on Mayish.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing a pretty big spike there. And then, yeah, you guys have done a really good job of actually being sticky and retaining players over time, especially because as we're seeing industry wide, like when there's a bull run, people get very excited. And then when it crashes, like people lose interest and they leave. And it's like, wait, why were you here in the first place then? Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Come here to play, come here to have fun. But yeah, so that's really interesting. So were you around when the Binance thing happened?
hmm
What was that like? I mean, when that happened, like what was going on?
Well, the chat was. I've never seen a chat that just move that fast. You couldn't keep up with any. You couldn't follow anything in the chat. They were moving so fast. The excitement, the excitement was real. It was basically a sleepless night, and just kind of watching all the excitement unfold. Yeah, it was really cool. I guess it was kind of like a Super Bowl or something. It was really fun though, for sure. The community was definitely very excited, and there were people coming in from every angle from all the chats, and it's one of the more exciting nights I've ever been on the internet in my entire life.
Wait, so take us through that night. So Binance makes the announcement, or they do the launch or whatever,
Right.
and
Announcement it came several weeks before then. Yes.
okay, so the announcement came several weeks before, but what happened on that day that caused the huge spike?
Well, the token just listed on Binance, and there was all that, I guess, trading action around it, over
Mm.
on their platform. And so there was just a lot of just excitement and momentum in our community about it as well. So it just carried over to there throughout the whole evening on until the next morning.
Okay, so
Yes.
that was the ignition point, was the token got listed, which of course opens you up to a ridiculous amount of new users, adds a ton of value into the ecosystem, and so everybody who's already there, I mean, they're just pumped. And
Yeah,
so
exactly. It was just a big party that night for the Alien Worlds community. It's for the people, I guess, that have been there, from the beginning as well too. They were kind of excited to see something that they're so invested in, kind of heading in the right direction.
love it, love it. So then from there, what were the things that you did? Because it's easy to be a genius when everything's up and to the right. But what did you do from there as the social community manager? Well, I know they're not really titles, but as being somebody who has expertise in that realm, it seems like that's really where a lot of your efforts are. What did you do from that point after that initial spike? What did you do to keep excitement, to keep the community going, and to really like continue to build and contribute at that point? Like from
That's
a
that's that's a great question. Yeah, so we started last year. We did a series of events called the Treasure Hunt, and they were mining events that ran weekly throughout the last quarter of last year, and they all had huge participants. I mean, some of them even had hundreds of thousands of participants take place in them. So we would try to organize weekly mining events. We've kind of transitioned that to a lore event this year. Might revisit the mining event again. It seems like there's a lot of demand for that. But yeah, we do like daily interaction as well with the community. My primary focus, of course, was trying to establish a way to answer players' questions more than anything, though, because there was so many support questions coming in. We had a flood of players coming in. So I worked closely with people like David Elvion, and we as a company created like a Zen desk where we can handle tickets that come in for higher level questions or things that are kind of out of the scope of people on the ground. And then we started handling those simple support questions in the chat and kind of training, hiring and training a team of people to make sure that these questions are able to be answered and making sure they're in the loop with the information that they need to know. And yeah, so that was like, I guess, the first stage, is kind of laying the groundwork. And then we built that out to games and trivia interaction. And now we're trying to build that out even further into branching in, looping in more with the development team, more with the engineering team to kind of relay information to the players that's vital to them on the ground.
So it's basically you're basically handling information almost. Well, you're handling people, but like you're basically routing information to where it needs to go. So if people have questions, you answer them. If people have questions that you can't answer, you pass them on to the next person, and then you're just trying to get everybody's questions answered to make sure that there's a little bit of order and understanding amidst all the chaos.
Yeah, exactly. Because it scaled out so quick, it was just coming at us from all angles. We just wanted to make sure that, for one, like if a player has a question or a concern, that we get to it in a timely fashion. You don't want to leave anybody waiting for hours or days for an answer. So, yeah, that was the first thing, just tackling that and making sure that these hundreds of thousands of daily players have the support that they need, on our end.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. So from there, you guys have done a really good job of um, keeping players, like I said, and I mean to be able to stay as one of the um, top played games and one of the top DApps overall. Like, I mean, that's really, really incredible. Like, what have you guys tapped into that other games just haven't?
Hmm. That's a great question. I think we've kind of tapped into early on, and other games are doing this as well, but just that community driven aspect and that social aspect of the metaverse that's kind of was untapped at that time, really. And we've kind of tapped into that. And also, like I said, we've truly tapped into that free to play model. And I think that's really important, for players, especially when you have players playing from around the world, and everyone plays for different reasons. You or I might play for some fun, but there's somebody somewhere maybe playing for something that's more important. So I think just having that model in place and truly having the support in place for the players. I know we don't always have the plan. Hopefully some of the players are watching this today, because I know we don't always have the answers that you guys are looking for on the ground as far as future development or kind of what's coming down the pipe or when NFT drops are returning, those sorts of things. But ultimately, we're here to help you guys thrive and hopefully smooth out the communication lapses that have taken place over time.
That's a really good. I think it's a really good answer because, and I know I've been. Hopefully, it doesn't seem like I've been grilling you. I mean, I'm just super ultra curious about everything that's going on, and I think it's really good for the whole space to like share what you've learned, especially because y'all are one of the top dogs in the whole crypto gaming space. So it's coming from love and from a desire to like
Oh, great.
understand it.
Yeah, ask
I'm
all the
just
questions you like. Yeah, there's it's definitely it's every day we're all learning in this space, right? There's
exactly.
yeah, for sure. Us
Exactly.
included. Us included.
um, yeah, for sure. So I think there's also this idea that a lot of players have trouble grasping, especially when there's some financial aspect to it. Of they want immediate gratification and they want to have their questions answered now. They want to have all of their needs and wants met now. If they've put in 50% of their net worth, they want devs to do something. They want devs to do marketing so that it'll go up now. And it's like, guys, first of all, most of the time, you're probably not the person that you're speaking to as a gamer, the person you're speaking to probably is not the developer that is going to be able to actually do the things you want to have happen. That person is there because they care about you and they're part of the community, and they're there because they want to be there with you, and like that's a labor of love. But also as a gamer, like, do you think the projects themselves don't also want those same things? Like, every project wants to be the best. Every project wants to knock it out of the park 10 times out of 10. So, how do you communicate to players in a satisfying way what's actually going on, knowing that a lot of the times the players are not going to be satisfied with that answer.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I think you do that by consistently giving the correct answer, and consistently revealing, what you know at that time that's safe to reveal. For example, like we get the question all the time: when's NFT drops resuming? And that's a tough question because if you kind of just want to dive into the details of that a little bit, we can to show you kind of the complexity and the layers that go behind this, right? So when you have NFT drops and there's luck involved, right? And you're a crypto game, you're a game in this space. You have to worry about mechanics and things like looking, lucky, right? What does luck kind of leads you to think about casinos and those sorts of things, right? We don't want to go there, right? We want to be a game, right? We want to be considered like a serious game. So of course, then you have to loop in legal, and you have to ask them, questions like, hey, how can we gamify this? What can we do to make sure we're on the right side of legislation that hasn't even been written yet, right? So how can we do these things, right? So those are the questions that are being asked every single day, and those are hard questions to answer. They really are. But we've got the best team in the world working on it. We found a way that we feel like is pretty fair to resume NFT drops, and we're working on that. And don't have a date for anyone listening right now, but I do know that is being established, and processes are in place, and hopefully we have some news in the near future on that.
So what I'm understanding, and I want to kind of scope out of this one specific issue and just talk more conceptually on answering these kinds of questions, tell the truth, and to be as transparent as you are able to be, because there are obviously things that that you can't talk about. Like there are things
Yes.
you have to be aware of that it is just not appropriate, or maybe it's just your decision as a team, maybe not even you personally, maybe you're just not able to talk about some of the things, but you still have to talk about some of the things. And
Right.
so you're like,
Tough line to toe.
yeah, exactly.
It is.
Exactly. It's like, I think that's an art and a science. And it comes down to like, it almost comes down to like, like social relations, like people and
Mhm.
people skills and customer service and like
Customer service, 100%. Yeah.
yeah,
It's just kind of at the end of the day, you want to treat and you want to treat people like you want to be treated. And
of
so
course.
when players come in with questions and demands, and but we do take their feedback seriously. Like for example, we just put a new feature in the UI where you can kind of filter land selection by commission, by NFT mining power, things like that, by Trilium mining power. And there's just some little filters we put in, but that came in as a suggestion from the community. So yeah, so like you said, balancing that information, balancing what you can share, what you can't share, because there's certain things that we're still working at ourselves, that that are subject to change internally, or that are kind of proprietary at the moment, and you really just can't say much on. But at the same time, there's a lot that's still kind of being established, and you want to try to be as transparent as possible when speaking to the community about all of these things, and just let them know the information that they need, while at the same time not revealing anything that you're maybe not allowed to speak about at the time.
Of course. Yeah, I think whoever can consistently nail this piece of service and like player support, and it's almost like player relations. It's
Mhm.
like you're a liaison between devs do something, and and then the players. I mean, that in and of itself is, again, that's a field of study
Mhm.
in my mind. That's like something you could work on for the next 40 years and build a career around. And I mean, you could publish papers, publish articles, and like this would be its own whole industry within crypto, or within blockchain, within crypto gaming, being a part of a team, and then there you find that spot, and that's still huge, and there's so much nuance. Yeah, that's a
It is,
fascinating.
especially when you have like companies that have kind of sprouted up, so quickly like ours, and there's those processes that need to be established, and those lines that need to be drawn, and dots. So there's not always the proper communication in place beforehand between departments, right? So yeah, learning how to establish those communications, learning how to properly communicate with people, always being polite, always, just those sorts of things, right? Treat everybody as you want to be treated. And I think that's kind of motto on the ground and of the social team.
Love it. Love it. So I want to completely pivot the where the conversation is going right now, because I want to cover a lot of different topics, and I think it's so fascinating to get takes from people who are in the trenches and um, like doing things, because you're obviously a doer. I mean, you're in the trenches making things happen, and 99% of people just fucking aren't. Like they're sitting there, they don't want to do anything. And power to you, if that's how you want to play it. But I'm curious about the people that are doers, how they view this. So obviously you're very, very invested from a time perspective at minimum, and the other is sensitive information, so I'm not going to ask about it. But you're very invested in Alien Worlds from a time perspective. Obviously there is an entire rest of the industry of crypto outside of Alien Worlds as well, and you're a participant in that market too. And it seems like you've been in crypto longer than you've been with Alien Worlds. Alien Worlds about a year, crypto 5 to 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously you've been a participant in the market. And so how did you go about conducting your investments early on? Like, did you buy in diamond hand and just hodl? Did have you been more of a trader? Are you doing stuff with bots, doing stuff with yield farming? Like, how did you think about it? And I'm not at all asking for any specific calls or anything like that, but just more conceptually how you approached it leading up to the point where you started working with Alien Worlds.
Sure. Never been much of a trader. Not good at it. Tried some simulated trades on paper. Yeah, it wouldn't have gone well for me. I salute everyone that does that out there. That seems like one of the most tough professions to tackle in the whole world. So I've just generally accumulated some crypto and held it. I don't have an exuberant or extraordinary amount, but kind of just dollar cost average, I guess. Every paycheck you buy a little bit and you put it up and hold on to it to the future. And hopefully one day when I'm old and gray, I can cash it out, or, not even cash it out, just spend it right directly then. So yeah, I guess that was kind of the goal. Then once I found the NFTs, I just kind of just put some capital aside and decided to just go for that as well, and just kind of, that's kind of what it was. I guess just hold your breath and jump on in.
So in other words,
not much of a trader.
I can call you Diamond Hand David.
I guess so. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah. The projects I get involved in, I do tend to hodl for a very long time. I don't jump off easily. I'm definitely used to the swings here. I have people text me sometimes. Did you see that today? I'm like, I didn't even open my portfolio. I don't know what you're talking about. I'll look at that in like 20 years. Let's see where we are then.
I love it. So when
so
you're
much
thinking
easier
about
for tax purposes too, just
yes,
a couple transactions here and there. You don't have to worry about all that.
Exactly. And that's one of the things I think people don't realize is like you're looking at potentially a double-digit percentage difference in the amount of taxes you have to pay if you're short-term versus long-term, short-term trading versus long-term buying and holding. Like that could be pretty significant.
Absolutely.
Like that could be the difference between, anyway, big difference. Highly suggest people think that through a lot before they try to outsmart the market and the whales. So when you're thinking about diamond handing, diamond hand David, when I love that. I gotta keep going with that.
We're gonna make an NFT, I think.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Oh my gosh, that'd be amazing. So when you're thinking about diamond handing, are you thinking I want to buy, I want to throw it in cold storage, and I want to never think about it? Or are you trying to buy and stake somewhere, and then you want to, because you want if you believe in something, either you want to help secure the network, or you just want to earn some interest on that, and hopefully it gets paid back in the original thing, just so you can make more of that itself. So how do you go about thinking about that?
Honestly, haven't staked too much. Just kind of buy and hold. And I do have a friend who's into all that yield farming, staking, all that stuff. And he seems to have a great time. It just keeps him very busy throughout his day. Seems to kind of take up a lot of his time with the various different things that he has going on. And not to say that's not the route to go as well, but just never really interested me. I've kind of just set it and forget it kind of guy.
So you're literally buy, throw it in cold storage, and then don't look at it for the next 20 years.
That's me, unless nudged by somebody on occasion, like, hey, look at this, or did you check that out today? That kind of deal. But yeah, don't usually seek out to check any of that information.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I think you probably have cracked the code on how to have peace of mind with crypto, because if you're not constantly worried about that, like, you don't have to stay up all night every night, like, worrying and trying to, like, are
Oh
you
yeah,
optimizing for peace of mind? How did you
yeah.
come to that
You just put in, don't spend more than you can afford to lose on any one thing, right? So you just allocate what you're comfortable allocating every month, 2 months, week, however often you want to do that. And then if you're comfortable with it, then you should be able to sleep at night. And if you're not sleeping well at night, well, that probably means you're putting a little too much in there.
Yeah, if you decided that you want to go 125x leverage and you're not sleeping because you're worried that you just mortgaged your house to place that bet on could fail, you're probably not doing something right, or you're way
Probably
bigger
not.
brain than I am.
Yeah, but that's what they say. Like, fortune favors the bold. I guess I'm just not that bold. I don't know.
That's funny. Yeah. So then, when you saw what was going on with Alien Worlds, um, how did you then? Oh, and, actually, before that, did you work with any other projects leading up to Alien Worlds, or was this the first one you really wanted to be a part of?
This was the first one I would say that I really wanted to be a part of. I have kind of just followed other projects and popped in and out of chats and stuff before, but this was the first one that kind of incorporated gaming. And yeah, so of course, right away once I started playing, I formed my own Discord, and everyone's welcome to check that out as well. It's the Alien Art Discord, and we represent Nayron, and so we're always doing all kinds of like fun banter in there and trying to So just that kind of camaraderie really attracted me to this. So, and to answer your question, yes, this is the first one.
Wait, let's pop that in the. I want to pop that in the chat or put it on the screen. Can you send that over? I want to make sure people have a chance to join up on that.
Sure, absolutely. Let me get a link for you.
Yeah, please do. I'll throw that in the chat, and then I'll also show it on the screen whenever that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, dropping that in our chat now. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hop in and say hello.
Perfect. And so this is your personal Discord with I'm just putting that in the chat here. Should be able to see it. And then let me throw this on the screen as well. And what exactly is this Discord? Again, just a quick recap of it.
Yeah, sure. It's called the Alien Art Discord. We formed around the planet Nayron in the game Alien Worlds. So it's basically a guild, I guess you could say, that was formed around Alien Worlds. And we do fun stuff like events and NFT creation. And of course, got a young guy named Dylan in there, very bright young fellow that runs trivia all the time, constantly giving out rewards to the community. So yeah, hop in. You never know. You could win an NFT. You can find a place to call home in the metaverse, I guess. Hopefully that's with us.
That's awesome. So it's like a community within Alien Worlds.
Yes.
Oh, that's so rad. Oh, I like that a lot.
And there's a lot of communities out there like mine. So I don't want to hog the spotlight, but there's a ton of them out there. There's the Crypto Monkeys community. There's the Kinder Miners. There's there's the Rusty Montaignes. There's so many. There's this new one that just formed on. Forgive me, I forgot the name of that one. The Merchant Circle. There's so many. I could go on. There's about 20 or 25 of these communities, and hopefully, one day, some of these communities will decide to throw their hat in the ring for governance once we kind of get that far down the road.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love how, because obviously this community had to come around, or had to become a thing after you started working with Alien Worlds, right?
I formed this community, I think, about a month before I started working here, maybe 6 weeks, something like that. Before
so you played, or you were in the ecosystem before you started working with the team?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, that is cool.
Yeah,
Well, look.
and then we went on to hire a lot of the people that answer your questions from the chats that you're asking the questions in.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's all
So
about the
that
community.
so that is literally, I think what this illustrates is the importance of getting involved in the things that you really enjoy and that you really like. I mean, it seems like you found something you liked, you started building community amongst friends and like, aggregating people that you really enjoyed hanging out with. And then because you were taking action and getting involved, um, then it became more clear that so how, actually, let me ask that. What was that transition from you were getting involved, you're building your own little mini community, to then working with Alien Worlds? How did that actually come about?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, so I guess one of the first people I met in this space was Good Vibes Mining. I don't know if you know who he is or not, but he and I got to be good friends. He's one of the huge landowners in Alien Worlds, and we kind of noticed that this thing's scaling very quickly, and the team, they have an awesome team, of course, and great founders. But there were some things that was missing, like just for example, like a guide that kind of walks you through A to Z, kind of how to play the game, how to get started, what's this land, what's this number on this NFT mean, and there was these bits and pieces of information everywhere in the form of a couple of YouTube videos and a Google Doc here and there. But there wasn't really a go-to place for all the information. So GVM and I kind of just decided to take it upon ourselves to write this guide. We started there, and then it seemed to be very popular. Then we both built our own communities out. We spent, I don't know how many hours every night. It seemed like when we wasn't at our real jobs, we was here answering questions for players and just really trying to grow this thing out. We was taking people on tours, teaching them how to play in small groups, and he's running mining competitions, getting people in these events. And so, yeah, just kind of grew from there. And then at a certain point, Sarah reached out and just said, okay, hey, why don't you come on board and just do this with us?
That's incredible. That's incredible. So, folks, if you're thinking about how to get more involved in games or projects that you love, this is your roadmap. Just start taking action, start making friends, get involved with the community. Okay, I don't want to be that same person. Everybody just says get involved with the community. But what does that actually mean? Like, are you talking about, I know you gave a really good roadmap of like you're answering questions of people, you're creating content to help introduce more people, make it simpler for them, writing guides, like building your own little mini groups. Is that really all that it takes? Is like go in, learn some, share what you learn, keep learning, keep sharing, and then good things will happen?
I would say that, and just making sure you have the right attitude. Wake up every day and know that this day is special, right? It was given to you, and at the end of the day, you're going to have something in its place that you traded for this day, right? So you want to always interact properly with people and make sure that you're kind of giving off the vibe that you want in return, and really keep that. Every keystroke matters, and I really mean that when I say that. When you're talking to somebody, really try to put their well-being always at the forefront of every message that you send, and I think the rest will take care of itself.
I love that. So I know we're getting very close to time here. I want to kind of scope out really quickly and ask, what do you see as the end game, ultra long term, for the metaverse as a whole? Like, what
Mhm.
are you most excited about? What's the yeah, what are you most excited about in that future?
Sure. I'm most excited about people who may not have had an opportunity in life, right? Who just didn't have the proper breaks or shakes or knowledge or information provided to them at the right time, but have great, fabulous ideas that just was never presented in the right place at the right time. Here, you can come and it won't cost you next to nothing to start your NFT collection, to start working with a landowner, to start up an event, to start up a business, basically. And it's very low cost, very low threshold of entry. So I like the fact that anyone can come here from anywhere in the world and have an equal footing to succeed. And I just really think that's what will propel the metaverse forward even further over the next 10 years.
Love it. Changing lives, having fun, feeling good. That's what it's about.
I think so, brother. I think that's the recipe.
Awesome. Well,
Bitcoin Ben and Diamond Dave. I like it, man.
I love it. I love it.
Sounds like a comic
Um,
book.
dude, we may be superheroes in the making. We just don't realize it yet. Hopefully we don't have to get dropped into like radioactive goo or something
Oh,
like that. That sounds painful.
Ninja Turtle
Hopefully.
style.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Man,
But
the like the 10-year-old me loves that though. That sounds good.
I was just thinking, well, hanging out with Master Splinter, getting to learn kung fu, eating
Pizza,
pizza,
unlimited.
saving the world. It's,
Maybe the
it's,
goo's not that bad.
maybe it's something bad. Awesome. Well, Diamond Hand Dave, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. And I'm definitely I'm hodling that meme forever. So I'm diamond handing that
If
meme.
if I throw together an NFT, I'll send you a copy of it.
Please.
It'd be Bitcoin Ben and Diamond Dave.
I love it. I love it. Awesome, man. Hey, you're the best. I appreciate you. To everybody, the chat's been popping off here. Just want to shout out some names. I'm gonna try to pronounce everything correctly. I apologize if I don't. We have Tony with a 7, Big Story Formula, Omer, Nihat, Klaus, Samuel, Wirosani, the Big Lebowski, Layla, and just a lot of other fantastic people. Thank you all for showing up, being a part of this. Y'all are the best, and I will see you all in the metaverse.
Thanks, man.
Peace.